Hey there, welcome to the Springbar. Right this way. I've got the best seat in the house.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Springbar. Glad to have you here. I am Mike. That is Joe. Down at the bottom of my screen is Richard. Richard Callamaras from Accutron fame joins us today.
In the beautiful
Gentlemen,
Bulova Museum.
from Bulova Museum-ish. Gentlemen, how are we all doing today?
Can't
Better.
complain.
Better now.
Beautiful day in the Bulova Museum.
In the Bulova Museum.
The sun is shining brightly on your face in there.
And
It's
breeze-
incredible. The lighting in this place is unbelievable.
breeze coming through your hair. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Through my beard.
Oh man, we're all in a good mood. Let's start it off right. Wrist and drinks. Episode 101. We're kicking off the next 100
That's a big
episodes
deal.
with
Thank
you.
you.
You're
Yeah, I
welcome.
really
Thank you.
appreciate that. I feel honored, and I don't have all the time in the world, but it's when I do, I love to be able to do these with you guys and speak to the all of your followers, and it's just such a special thing for me. So to be able to be 101 and kick off the next 100, that's pretty cool, man. So thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
So what do you got?
We got
I'm actually wearing, so this is a Stratford. It's a Bulova Accutron. It's a Swiss Bulova Accutron from the early 2000s, and diamond. My shirts and my watches always match. So this is black and silver. Black and white is kind of what I'm wearing today.
I know you've got your go-to drink. What's in your cup?
Dun, 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 Coke Zero, as
Your
usual.
Coke Zero. Yep.
Yep.
Joe, what do you got?
I have a little Coke Zero and a little bottled in bond 100 proof bourbon
Nice.
in there because
If you go big.
and on the wrist today is the Spaceview G on
Very nice.
Accutron
Yeah.
mesh, fitted Accutron mesh.
Ooh,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
nice touch.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
All right. Well, I'm a little excited. I wore something kind of weird too. I have a Bulova Accutron 2. This is
Very
the
cool.
Accutron 2 snorkel. I have it on
Love it.
silicone tropic.
Oh, I like that even more.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
really
pretty
good look.
Because this is episode 101, because we have Richard with us, and because this episode is going to be a cross-platform episode with Accutron, I have Wild Turkey Forgiven, batch 303. This is a bottle that I saved
That's right. You got the bottle.
for very special occasions, and I poured myself a glass of it for this episode. So, gentlemen,
Excellent.
cheers.
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 Yes. Well,
What are we talking about
Richard,
today? Let's go.
yeah.
Let's get into this.
Richard is here for a how does it work kind of episode. We're going to be talking about the electrostatic movement. This is the NS30 electrostatic movement, what you're going to find in the Spaceview 2020s, the DNAs, things like that. Very cool watch, very cool movement. I think there's still a lot of people out there that don't quite understand what it is, how it works. So that's what Richard is here for. He's got a PowerPoint presentation we're going to throw up on screen. So if you're listening to this, finish out your episode if you're on your way to work or in the gym or whatever you're doing. But this might be something you want to head over to YouTube to also see. There's going to be a lot of visuals here that might be interesting to you, especially if you're, that techie kind of guy wants to see the inner workings of stuff. So, Richard, I'm going to let you take it away. Go ahead and throw up your PowerPoint and educate us, if you will.
One of the things I wanted to say again is thanks, because one of the things that out there in the online world, we had something, I forget, I think it was on the Instagram page, right? And someone had mentioned, like, still don't know how it works, but still the coolest watch, right? Like something to that effect.
Mhm.
And that's fantastic. But what I wanted to do is make sure that everybody knew that there were resources out there. One of the things I say all the time at trainings is I talk to, and this is whether I'm training watchmakers or I'm training, salespeople or retailers. One of the things I always say is, who in here can tell me how double remontoire works? So how a minute repeater works. What's the exact inner workings and relationships for a, I mean, just about any high-end, highly complicated timepiece. And the one thing that everybody gets when you ask that question is, yeah, we really don't know, right? You
Right.
think and like even when you think about, oh, you know what, we're going to take gravity and we're going to try to offset it, and we're going to put this cage together and it's going to rotate on a separate axis, and the more axes, the more, hopefully, the more offsetting of the. Nobody really, you might know that generalization, but you don't know how that works. Those things are super complicated, and quite frankly, none of us really know how those things work in depth. There's definitely nerds out there that do get it and dive into that, but one of the things that you can always look to is patents, right? I think patents are super important, and when you try to figure out if a watch is significantly different, or if it's just a complicated version of something that's already been invented. You've added a few bells and whistles, a couple extra gears and pinions, or, if it's truly something unique and different. Patents are a big, big, big way to know that it's been tested and this is real, right? So, you know, as much as we're gonna give a good, really strong look at how an NS30 works from the electrostatic, you can go find this stuff online, like you just said. So I urge you to just go do that research. But when you get in front of one, they're rare to find, right? They're unicorns out in the world. So if you can get in front of one at an event or at your local retailer, and there's only 37 doors in the US. So, if you can find one and get one on, take a look at it. If you fall in love and you can't stop smiling, that's your watch, right? And that holds true for any timepiece, right? Love spring drive. Spring, people always say, oh, so it's just like spring drive. And that's not true at all. And it's
No.
because most people, and this isn't a knock against people who ask that question, but most people really don't know how things work. They just kind of, take what you're fed, so to speak. So they'll say, "Oh, I heard this really cool thing and it's got this sweeping second hand, so they must be the same." Not at all. And we all want to talk about our watches and sound cool, right? And sound like we know. Um, so I wanted to do something where I could give people more to work with, but I really don't want to complicate it. You can get complicated and deep, and I'll let you do that. We'll post this up online and you'll be able to go and access it. And like we said, we're going to kind of try to cross-platform it down the road.
So this is one of the taglines when Accutron was relaunched in 2020 was, "It's more than a timepiece; it's a
Conversation piece.
Yeah.
And this
That
kind of
madman line.
gives you that conversation. So if you have one or are thinking of buying one or purchase one in the future, now you'll be a little bit more educated to have that conversation or to educate the people that are looking at your wrist and wow, what is that? That's different. Well, let me tell you what it is.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to jump into that like in 2 seconds. The last thing I would say though is that, like any great timepiece of significance, it has a very strong historical value. And there is an Asseline Publishing book that is on Accutron that, if you really want to know and be able to speak to your timepiece, your Accutron, that book is the book you want. That book tells the entire history from day one to today. And it takes you through all the innovations and all of the famous people and all of the movements, pun intended, that Accutron was involved with, from, mid-century modern all the way to the space race, all of it. And the Pompidou building in France, and I mean, everything. It's all part of that book. So that's an easy story to tell, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to tell the harder story today a little bit. As we said, we wanted to do a bit of an introduction to the NS30 caliber. And what I'm sharing with you all today is something that we use in our trainings at retail shops and our sales teams. And we're going to actually put this online. It was online for a little while. It came down. It looks like, it might behoove us to just have it up there as a reference point. And it really does speak to the movement in a lot of different ways. So, you'll see as it progresses through the few slides that are here, every one is another layer of the onion peeled back on how it works. So if you go to the next slide, it just shows you obviously the DNA. It has a image of the Accutron 2020 and then an evolution. And it just talks about some of the key talking points, because this is, as we said, a not just a timepiece, but a conversation piece. And some of the things that are really, really important about this is and that people ask a lot about is, why Accutron? Like, why did Accutron release a new movement as opposed to the tuning fork again? And I think one of the things that's really fun about this watch is people say all the time, it's lightning in a bottle. Lightning never strikes twice. And when we were creating this brand and everybody was kind of talking about it in the direction they wanted to go, even really early on, the thing is, should we just do the tuning fork? And when the tuning fork was not supposed to be a watch, it was supposed to be a timing device to get us to the moon, right? It had to be robust enough to be in a rocket ship, to be in science programs, all the science equipment that was being used on the lunar surface. It had to be in satellites. It had to be able to handle G forces and heat to 160 degrees to, G forces of over 6 Gs, all these crazy numbers. And there was no timepiece on the planet that could really do all that. So this had to be created, and it was the first. Really, I mean, it was obviously commercially viable. Hamilton came out with their timepiece, which was, to this day, one of the coolest looking watches I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, those are so good.
They're the best, right? So I love that. And they had the battery, and the battery replaced the mainspring, but the rest of the watch remained the same. The tuning fork was the first fully real, kind of removing a gear train, removing the hairspring, and turning this into something really special. And not just like, something that a battery was generating the force. Everything else was the same. This was completely new. And the world recognized that immediately. So this was different. It was significant, and it wasn't created for a commercial purpose. It was again for one single purpose, and it was something the world needed. So for me, when you think about what the world needs today, the question that is answered is it's renewable energy, right? So we have some of the best people in the world working on technology like that. And how do we continue to push that envelope and do something that is just levels above everything else that's out there? And that's what the NS30 became. It became that passion work to make this timepiece that just, again, we use the word enigmatic here, but it is. I mean, that's the first two words, the enigmatic, and hand assembled NS30 electrostatic movement is lightning in a bottle. I mean, it's just a really cool watch. So there's no battery, there's no mainspring. We'll talk about that a little later. Accurate to within 5 seconds a month. World first electrostatic motor and electrostatic generator in a watch. We paid homage to the sweeping second hand, and did an incredible amount of engineering, not because we had to, but because we wanted to add that beautiful aesthetic and do it in a way that's a true sweep. And then, precision is always accuracy through electronics. That's Accutron. We wanted it to be precise, and we wanted it to run forever. So, with the heightened state of tolerances, it's almost frictionless in the areas that friction was the biggest problem in a timepiece. And then we took all of these amazing inventions of horology, whether it's fully mechanical watches or, mecha quartz. We've borrowed ideas from all of that. Like our rotor is a great example. We're going to talk about it. The rotor is a dual function rotor. It's essentially the world's first like mechanical accelerometer in a watch. Like it helps tell the watch what's happening. We could have bypassed all that and just used, an integrated circuit. These are watches, mechanics are important, and using things people are familiar with is something we wanted to do and reinvent that. And that's kind of the story of Accutron. Accutron, takes really, really cool technologies from the past and turns them in and reworks them and turns them into things the world's never seen. So we're doing that again with this. The thing that's most important, I think, and we mentioned it earlier, is 23 patents were applied for when we were making this. This watch, in one watch, one timepiece, the movement the NS30 movement, has 18 awarded patents. There's still 5 that are applied that we haven't gotten a decision on yet because there's more testing to be done. And there's a lot of work that has to be done to get patent awarded. But 18 things happen in this watch that not only haven't happened in any watch anywhere in history, but don't happen anywhere on the planet except for inside this watch, which is a really, really fun and cool thing about this watch.
That is an amazing number.
18, like that's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know, to put it into perspective for people who aren't aware, to have 2 awarded patents in a watch is considerable. Like that is, you know, something that you know, the Swiss have all their contests and people go in and they have 2 awarded patents. It's a big deal. And it is a big deal. But this just speaks to
Well, and to
what
put it
we were
into
trying to
perspective
accomplish.
a little more is how many watches out there in the marketplace today have 0 that just
Oh yeah,
follow
all
the
of them.
same form and
Yeah.
function as they have, since the beginning of time. And then, like you said, you got some that have a couple, and that's great. You're doing something to forward the industry. But then you
Yeah.
have something like this with how many did you say total?
18 awarded and 5 applied patents.
In 5 more. It's
Yeah.
you're really doing something here to achieve that number.
The goal for our team was to really create something the world has never seen. 18 is quite a boast, to be honest. I mean, it's an outrageous number.
Yeah.
The next page, like I said, it's kind of like you start at the beginning, right? So what's the caliber, the NS30? What's the accuracy, plus minus 5 seconds? We're going to get back to power reserve, power generations by the electrostatic induction. The operation of it is basic. What happens when you pull out a crown, right? So we know people of all different, awarenesses of how watches work are watching this. So when you pull a crown out, the 0 click position is when it's pushed in, nothing happens. It's pretty much the case for everyone. 1 click position is it. We adjust the time. But the 1 click position also hacks the watch. So a hacking function is when all time stops, seconds or hours and minutes. And you're able to set your time more accurately that way. So there is a hacking feature in here, but it also it helps the watch go into, if you wanted to place it into, the energy conservation or conserving mode. And we talk about how many joules are here, 28 joules, 296 mechanical parts in this watch. So not an uncomplicated timepiece from a mechanical perspective. So when people say, is it mechanical? And you ask them to define what does mechanical mean? And people will say, oh, does it have train of gears? Does it have pinions, joules? How does the watch move and collect and tell time? Some people may ask those questions. Other people may think of a mechanical timepiece as though it has to have a mainspring, it has to have a hairspring. So when you have this many mechanical parts, there's mechanics happening, right?
Yeah,
That's
for
not
sure.
arguable. And we tried to, again, the engineering team tried to make this watch something for everyone, so to speak, right? So if you enjoy a beautiful mechanical timepiece, this dial that you're looking at is a semi-closed dial, but with the more open dials, you'll see how complicated this timepiece is. So yeah, definitely, 296 parts, not a lightweight when it comes to mechanics. The other side of it is that it doesn't have a mainspring and it doesn't have a hairspring. So the hairspring side, which is your timekeeping, the escapement side, we've put in a quartz timing device, which is why that quartz oscillator can get us to that plus minus 5 seconds a month, which is very, very accurate. So if people are saying, hey, is your watch accurate? Absolutely. It's plus minus 5 seconds a month. Is it mechanical? Well, it's got 28 joules and 296 mechanical parts. So maybe, right? And then they'll say, oh, so do you wind it or shake it? And the answer is no. And they're like, what? And we're like, well, how does that accuracy so intense? Well, it also has a quartz oscillator. Oh, so it has a battery. Well, no.
No.
And now
Yeah.
they're like, I don't get it. I was having a conversation with a friend from a well-known publication, the chief editor, founder, and we were chatting, us on a side note, and he was like, so it's just like a rechargeable battery. And I said, yes, if the battery could recharge itself. And he was
Yeah.
like, what? And I said,
Yeah.
right. So yes and no. Again, right? Because there's 18 awarded patents to make this watch function, it does things that no other watch in the world does. So we often say that it's an orange in a world of apples. People pick it up and they pull out the operational part with the crown and they wind it, and we say that's not doing anything, right? They shake it and we're like, not absolutely necessary. Don't shake my watch. And they'll say, oh, so it needs a battery. And we say no. But I think what's really interesting about what we're able to achieve with this watch is, although this first page answers a lot of questions, power reserve and the power save section that we haven't talked about yet create a million more questions, right? And that's what
Yeah.
the rest of this is about. So the power reserve is truly indefinitely with daily use. So this watch was actually created to eliminate power reserve. The goal was to make a renewable energy resource. So
Mhm.
although it's still out of reach because we need force to be applied to this watch in some way, for it to harness and turn it into usable energy inside the watch. This watch, if you wore it once every 10 days, you'd set it once in your lifetime.
Mhm.
That's incredible, right? A lifetime of wear yields a lifetime of wear, right? So
Right.
there's 296 mechanical parts, right? There's jewels, there's pinions, so we had to solve, well, I didn't have to do anything. The engineers had to solve a lot of problems around friction and heat and the exchange of those things. And again, I don't want to get too technical in the call in this, but I want to touch upon everything. Is the beautiful thing about power reserve, when someone says, what's the power reserve in your watch? You can truly say, my lifetime.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could
The,
say
the power
yes.
reserve in my watch is yes.
Yes. And people say, okay, what if I don't wear it every day? Because Accutron, we always say, isn't your first watch your second watch, right? It's not, I'm going to buy a dive watch, I'm going to buy a dress watch, then I'm going to buy, Tag, Breitling, Omega, Rolex, and then you keep moving up the ladder. But when you want to have something of horological significance and something no one else in the world really has, a watch that you can wear and it's your watch, that's where people are purchasing Accutrons, right?
Right.
And I think that that's the fun part of it, is that they usually do have multiple timepieces. So with this timepiece, you'll put it down and say here's the crazy part. I'll just jump into the crazy part. Let's go into the deep end. This watch does not dissipate energy, and you'll see that in here. It will be able to remain and maintain 98% of its power indefinitely. It does not lose it. It doesn't dissipate. That's not really a thing in the world other than inside the watch, right? So the things that store power in here can do it in a way that nothing else can on the planet. So this watch has an incredibly long life because of that.
So I'm going to interrupt you here real quick, because throughout this, Joe and I are going to play the part of the average person who's watching this. And I'm going to ask you a question here, and it might segue into what you're going to talk about in future slides here. But can we classify this as an electromechanical watch? Would that be an accurate statement?
So when you think, listen, I think you can call it anything you want. It is its own thing. I think people want to call it, they want to make it an Apple. I say that all the time. What
Mhm.
we want it to be something we understand, right? So you can call it whatever you want. I call it a really cool watch, right? Like it is its own thing. It is an orange in a world of apples. So again, if you wanted to call it Mecha Quartz, you could, but it's not really accurate, because what Mecha Quartz is nothing like this. If you want to call it a quartz device, absolutely not. You can have 14 components in a quartz watch. This has 296 mechanical parts,
Mhm.
right? And the quartz oscillator and the components for the electrostatic generators and motors. So very complicated timepiece, right? So yes, but no. And then again, if you're comfortable calling it mechanical, you're wrong there again, but you're still correct, right? So again, people want to they want to bite into this and taste an apple, but you got to peel it because it's an orange. Like
Well,
it's
and
not
that's
going to
why
be
this
what you
is
think.
this is the conversation piece. And one thing I want to touch on too, real quick, is the power save function. So as you're talking about it, with the whole, if you wear the watch once every 10 days, you'll never have to set the time, in the lifespan of the watch or the lifespan of the wearer or
You
whatever
will
the
not
case
need to
may
be
be.
wound. Which
If,
is a horrible way to say it, but that's
well,
essentially what we're talking
yeah,
about.
it wearing the watch once every 10 days will give it infinite life. And if you don't wear it once every 10 days, it will automatically sense and store that 98% power for when you do come back
Yep.
to wear it. There is no charging, there is no winding. That in itself is pretty fantastic.
And like I said, that's what this watch is. So when people say, "Oh, is it like a whatever?" It's not. What it does is it eliminates power reserve. Like it has taken the mainspring and said, "I'm going to create something that does its own winding, so to speak." Right? To go back to what Joe was saying, right? Is this watch will harness and create its own usable energy, and then it will store it indefinitely to be used. And as the wearer, works with the watch and spends more time with it, it will increase its longevity. It's like the human body, right? Like the more work you give it, the healthier it is. That's for sure. But this watch is designed to last, absolutely a lifetime. And when that lifetime is ended, then that watch can be sent back to the factory. That watch can be fully serviced and cleaned like any fine timepiece, sent back to the wearer, and it'll last their lifetime.
And unlike the Mecha Quartz watches that have that internal capacitor that stores the energy, those will deplete over time. And if you let that deplete completely, it has to go back to be replaced and all that kind of stuff. This kind of eliminates that problem altogether.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was designed to kind of eliminate power reserve. So, it took Mecha Quartz and went a step further. It took, the quartz oscillator and used that from a timing perspective because it was the best of timing.
Mhm.
People love, like I said, they try to make something for everyone, for all people who love watches. If you're mechanical, this is a cool looking mechanical watch. You look at that open dial and you're just blown away. If you love timing and quartz and the have ultra accurate timepieces, this kind of scratches that itch. And then if you like those in between watches, right, like a spring drive would do, or FP Journe has, and the Elegant, and then all of those different things, we have that as well, right? Like, and in our own unique way, right?
Mhm.
And I think, when you think of FP Journe, you think of Grand Seiko, you think of Accutron, I think they're all doing really special things in this world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But 18 awarded patents, nothing is even close, right? So
Yeah.
that's a big deal. So the next level would be, what am I looking at? A lot of people, like you're saying, and I'm trying to talk to them as well, the average, person coming in contact with the watch, because it doesn't look like anything else, is what am I looking at? So this page pretty much tells you the power flow and it tells you what you're looking at. So the red box, the two electrostatic generators, they power the watch very simply. That power then moves to an accumulating integrated circuit and an accumulator. These are things that are, I guess, what people would say are like similar to like a capacitor, but they have more capacity. This is
Mhm.
what we talk about when we use different things and patents to extend the ability of the average capacitor. So these accumulators harness power. So this watch makes literal lightning bolts, like electrostatic charges. So if you've ever taken a balloon in the dark and rubbed it on your hair, you see all the thing, and you could stick it to a wall, or you did that for your kids at their parties. That same attraction and that same electrical current is what's happening inside the watch. And we have to take that kind of messy energy, not coming from a battery, and harness it. And not only harness it, so that's unique, but we also have to regulate it so it's usable. And we use it at a higher voltage. So these watches run at a higher voltage than other watches, and because there's no battery on the planet that you could put in this watch,
that could power that watch. It has to have this very high voltage. And that's part of the elegance and the beautiful sweep of the second hand and so on. So it goes from the electrostatic generator to these really cool things that collect lightning and turn it into usable energy in the watch and store it. And then it pushes it out to first your electrostatic motor and your that powers the second hand and creates that beautiful constant flow sweep. And then also step motor, which is traditional in a quartz timepiece, moving the hour and minute hands.
Now, I know you have some trade secrets, and this might be one of them, that we really can't disclose. But what is the voltage that it needs to run at?
It's higher.
It's higher.
Okay, fair enough.
It's-
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about this specifically, because what powers that motion? How do those things move? How do we get that positive negative charge, which then starts to create the energy? How do those work? Because
So
you don't shake it.
Yeah, you don't have to shake it, right?
Right.
This watch, again, this is where the magic happens. This is the fun. This is, when we did a Red Bar event, we did their Christmas party, a big one in New York. And when they went up and they spoke, they were like, we're going to let Richard talk about this a little bit more because, it seems like this thing is powered by black magic. Like we don't know
Yes.
how it works, but it's always working. And then it somehow knows when I'm moving and when, even if it's the slightest thing. And I mean, it is a really unique, circumstance that allows these things to interact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very simply describe how the interaction works scientifically, and then it won't seem as magical. It'll be an aha moment, like, oh, okay, that's why that happens and how it actually still creates power, right? So if you look at the screen and you see that each one of those generators are actually 3 discs, 2 of them are stable or stators. They don't move and they are positively charged. So on these plates on a regular electrostatic generator, these plates, there's 2 of them placed really close to each other, and they have these like metal like plates on them that you'll see on these as well. But as like anything, they have positive and negative ions. Those positive and negative ions, when they're being moved in different directions, they want to align. And that's just natural. It's normal process. So nothing crazy, no, science or no magic there. All science. So what we've done though is we removed all the negative charge from the top and bottom plate. We've taken it all out. So they're only positive. Then we put all the negative into one plate in between them. That plate at a subatomic level is trying to get to and align with the positive charges above and below it. So there's a constant pull and tug that's kind of happening here with these plates. And the only thing it needs to be able, a catalyst, so to speak, to get it to start spinning is the introduction of force, of any force. So when people wear the watch, they freak out because, and it is amazing. I mean, it's an incredible timepiece. It's part of the conversation is you wear the watch and you put it on and you look at those 2 rotors and they're almost constantly moving. You can't really get them to stop. So even if you put it down on a table and it was totally stable and you tap the table next to it, the energy from that tapping will go through the watch into the movement. The movement will sense that force and it'll agitate those negative and positive ions and they start to pull towards each other and it'll spin. So that something that simple can start to create a buildup of electrical power. And when that buildup gets high enough, like on any electrostatic generator, it'll release energy. And that's in the form of that little lightning bolt. And we harness that lightning bolt. So even if you're wearing it on your wrist and someone taps your hand, it'll move. Someone puts their hand on your shoulder and it shakes your body, it'll move. So that's a really cool component of the watch. And that's the science behind how it works. It's not, as much as it seems like magical, and it is a lot of fun to mess around with, especially with your friends, because it blows their mind. it is the use of these very common forces, but done in a way that no one's ever done before to create something that's so highly sensitive, right? And now the other thing that's really incredible is that, we also have had to create a lot of new equipment for this watch to build it because its sensitivities and its tolerances are so fine, to be able to kind of allow something with that little energy entering into it to be stimulated and to move. The watch is, I mean, it is incredible in a lot of different ways. And then the next kind of question is usually the dual function rotor. Like what happens at that point? Because there is a rotor in this watch. So like Mecha Quartz, doesn't it create the motion and momentum to drive the coil to create a magnetic field? Well, no, because you don't have any of that component on the other side of the mechanics, right? So the mechanical part of this rotor does have like a very high gear ratio so that it spins very quickly with a little bit of force. But this rotor doesn't go in an absolute circle. It doesn't go all the way around either. It doesn't move in a full 360-degree move, and it goes in an ellipse. So it's also much heavier and bulkier, because the rotor, if the rotor moved like a regular watch rotor, it would always stimulate the watch and it would never go into this power save mode, which we're going to talk about later. Step one is we put it on a gear train, and just like Mecha Quartz, it'll help rotate those wheels, which move in bidirectionally. The actual rotors on the front of your watch go in both directions. Now, to create the longevity that the watch has and it's able to run a lifetime, it does need this extra power. So this is kind of phase two of the power generation. It's constantly collecting, but then it gets this boost from the rotor, which spins instead of the coils and the stuff that you would have in a magnetic powered watch. You have this electrostatic powered watch. You have the relationships that we had on the previous page, that it's
No.
spinning.
When these first came out, one of the biggest questions was, can I put it on my watch winder?
Oh,
And the answer is really no.
no, definitely not. Yeah. So again, the people ask that question because it's an Apple, right? I know what a watch is. If I put it on my watch winder, it'll run forever, right? That is actually not even true for a regular watch. And to some degree, actually, I just had this conversation with a watchmaker and a national account that we have, and they were talking about watch winders, and they said, do you put it on a watch winder or do you not put it on a watch winder? With Accutron's watch, because it can generate its own power, it doesn't necessarily need it, especially with a 240 hour kind of built-in quote unquote time in reserve that we built into it. After those 10 days, it's going to go to sleep. But that sleep is part of why it lasts so long. If you're wearing the watch and say that you go for a drive to go pick up something at CVS, got to get some aspirin. And you're driving, you got your hands on the wheel. You are moving, but you're not really moving. Now, if you were with a mechanical watch, that movement is probably enough to wind your watch. But with our watch, it's really not. And it realizes that this person has very low activity. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop the second hand. The second hand stops because the second hand is where all your problems are, right? Your fourth wheel in your watch is going to always be that second hand with 3-hand timepieces, and you're gonna end up getting a lot of wear there, and that's where that metal shavings and all that dust gets in your watch. Well, the engineers solved the problem of friction with the electrostatic motor. That's the whole purpose, is to have this almost frictionless timepiece that's moving, that is, not only jeweled in pinion, but almost kind of like this unique way that it works creates a lot less friction in that part of the timepiece. So when the second hand is moving, it actually has less friction anyway. But we wanted this watch to last your lifetime. So what the engineers did is they went a step further and said, we're going to build this rotor in so that it has this other side of it, that it is a mechanical accelerometer. It speaks to the watch and says, all right, there's enough movement being translated to our turbines that this person is actually active. And when they're not active after 5 minutes of low activity, the second hand will stop at 0 and wait. When that person, say, gets out of their car and goes into the CVS, by the time they look down at their wrist, they're going to notice the second hand's moving. What they won't notice is that it's not exactly caught up to that minute, because once it starts again, it could take a second or it could take 2 minutes, depending on where the actual timing is. Because when you're in power save mode, the hour and minute hands are always still working, and the watch is keeping the accurate time. So it knows how many seconds have counted off, and what it'll do, unlike other timepieces that have the second hand move really quickly to find the time, we actually, because it's more of an elegant timepiece, we never want the wearer to really be disturbed by that. And it almost looks like it never stops moving your hand. So when you look at it, it's actually moving half the speed of a second. It's a half a second at a time. So
It's
if
essentially waiting for real time to catch up to displayed time.
Exactly. Much better put, Michael. I appreciate that. It's waiting for the time to catch up to it. It's not chasing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's a smarter move, and it's a more power conserving move because it's going to get there eventually rather than try to chase it around.
Yes.
It's a brilliant conceit.
Yeah. And then what happens if you put it in now that 240 hours and 240 hours, 10 days, it will say, I'm not feeling any real movement. And then and here's the other part that's really fun about that is that once it stops counting time, and it'll conserve that 98% of its power indefinitely. So you could come back to this watch in 20 years, pick it up, set the time, push the crown in, 98% of the power is still in the watch, and it'll run for you forever again for the rest of your life.
And that's what's mind-blowing about it.
Damn it.
I know it upsets you, Joe. I apologize.
It's a problem. It's a problem because, I've got traditional mechanical timepieces. I've got Accutron timepieces. I've got all of the regular stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. 36-hour power reserve, 82-hour power reserve, battery power, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. How many years?
All of them.
Well, and that's the thing is it's hard to comprehend infinity. But that's the thing is you have essentially an infinite power reserve on here, and it's hard for the human brain to comprehend what infinite really means.
Sure. So let me say this, because this is something that, it's another conversation to be had. And it's, again, that's why this watch is so special. It's so many conversations. So people will say no watch can run forever, especially one with so many moving parts, right? And, pinions and oils and this and that. And you're absolutely right. But this watch can run a whole lifetime. So when I think about how long infinity is, I can only imagine it in lifetimes. So this watch is designed to last a lifetime, meaning that even if you bought this watch was bought for you the day you were born, the amount of tolerances in years it was created to endure are going to get you almost all the way through your whole life.
Yeah.
So we don't really recommend a service interval, because once it's handed down and passed on, you can have it serviced and then have it used again.
Thanks. That makes me feel so much better. Everything's cleared up. Damn.
So we're gonna, and that was essentially the end of your PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
We're gonna have a conversation here.
Yeah, we got to talk about this because I need a moment.
We need to figure this all out now. So you gave us all the technical points. We're going to try and I hate to say this, but try and dumb it down a little bit for people to understand. Now, the numbers involved with this watch are amazing. The 18 patents, the 5 applied
Crazy,
patents.
right? That's the craziest thing.
The craziest thing to me is the 240 hours, the 10-day power reserve number 1, right?
Right.
If you will.
Number 1, right.
And
Because
then
there's
you go into the actual power save mode, which you can either force it that way by pulling the crown out, or you can let it sit for longer than 10 days and it goes in there by itself. And at that point, it will last until your grandkids pick it up one day and
Yeah, it's crazy.
and move it, set the time, push the crown in, whatever, and it starts ticking away. Now, we had a conversation a few weeks ago, the three of us, and in that conversation, one of the things that came up was servicing intervals.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Now,
Again,
Hang on.
Joe gets upset. We
Wait.
apologize.
Wait.
He needs a drink.
Go.
this watch came out in 2020, Space View 2020. You see how
Yep.
it all comes together. We are in the end of 2025, essentially.
Yep.
How many watches, Richard, have been returned because they have experienced a fault, experienced a manufacturing defect, something along the lines of that? How many of these watches have come back because of a service issue?
Right. So in total, watches that have come back is just a handful. It's not very many. And in the last year or so, I was just out in Houston, and they said there was not more than just a couple. And it was because when the watch has a mechanical failure, it'll stop at the second hand will stop at 4 o'clock, at the 4 o'clock number. We've had no watches come back for that reason in 5 years. We've had no.
Hang on. Stop.
Right.
You have had no mechanical failure of the electrostatic movement for 5 years.
Right. So that the watch detects on its own for again, manufacturer type defects, right? So no, yeah,
The movement is made in such a way that the tolerances are so precise that in 5 years, 5 years, you have had no watches returned for mechanical failure.
Yeah, from that perspective. So
Now, hang on. Let's back up a second, because like I have had watches drop from my ankle
right
to the floor 6 inches, and that watch has needed a complete overhaul. And you're telling me that in 5 years.
So let me say this, and this speaks to Japanese watchmaking, right? I wanted to change the color of a strap, and they were going to have to look into a few different ways of dyeing it and different things. And it took 6 months of testing to get a new strap.
Well, okay, but if you go back to
is not normal. The point is the Japanese do a hell of a job making sure things like that don't happen. And I'll tell you, because I think we've shared in the past my background. It wasn't always in this world, and you have to learn new industries and new businesses, and how things function and what the expectations are. And I was a little put off that we couldn't move faster, right? I like to fail faster. I like to kind of put stuff out there, see what sticks, keep moving. And I've had to learn how to do things a little differently. And I have to say, at first it was a little frustrating, but now I see the strength of it, especially in this industry.
The benefit is huge.
I just argue that the Japanese right now are working at a level that is just so high.
If you start talking about price point, if you start talking about accuracy, if you start talking about like any of the metrics that we use in watchmaking, from even if we're talking about finishing, the Citizen 0100.
Oh my God. No, that's not
right. Exactly.
There's no words for
whole
that,
different level.
right? There's no words for what that watch is capable of doing. It doesn't even make sense.
The thing that blows me away too,
from an engineering perspective, it's like, how is it accomplished?
Well, it's from the engineer perspective and the technical aspect of that aside. The 0100 is a beautiful watch. And it's like, you have managed this technical feat, but aesthetically,
it's
like those levels just stun me, and it blows me away.
And isn't that coming to the US?
Yeah, man, I hope so. I would love to have one.
I mean, they're amazing. Yeah,
It's a stunning accomplishment.
No,
let's talk about this specifically, because we've talked about the electrostatic movement, and we've talked about the development of it. We've talked about the technical aspects of it. Where did that fall in the timeline? Because I don't think anybody saw electrostatic on their bingo card in 2020. And we knew that there were rumblings about a tuning fork movement that had been going on for years. Going back to the anniversary editions, which was that 1-to-1 reproduction.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, is there going to be something new? Is it going to But how did the electrostatic? How does that timeline work? Do you know?
Well, so what I can share is
that's it. Thank you.
Is that they were both being considered and worked on. The tuning fork, if you can imagine, is a very difficult thing to accomplish in a way that is commercially viable, right? So
exactly.
So 2010, it came out. The hope was this was going to be easy. It was going to be popular. And now we have something to launch. The problem was it was impossible to make. And as we know, that watch is, even to this day, very, very difficult to fix because it was larger. So all the components don't go backwards, right? So you can't use original 214s on the new 214. So a lot of times things have to be recreated for it.
The history says, okay, the machinery and the tooling all went away. The repair that happened as you got into the later 70s was just a quartz module swap. And
when you were doing AccuQuartz and all of that.
Yeah, and even past AccuQuartz, because I've had watches that I've purchased and then
Just
reserviced.
the like the 1980s stuff, the Bulova Accutron Quartz.
Right, because the watch went in for service. It was still covered under warranty.
Yep.
And the company was like, we're not doing that anymore. Here's your quartz module, which was arguably nearly as accurate.
Right.
And so from a timekeeping perspective, it wasn't, but the soul of the watch is different, the hum is different, all the other things that go with it.
Totally different, yeah.
Right. And so now you've got a level of collector, and the collector space is like, okay, we have the technology. We can
$6 million man.
Exactly.
We can build it.
And that's almost what you're paying sometimes. So, it's fair.
Yeah, no, listen, if you look back at what we made in 2010 is when we released the anniversary model. And when that came out, it was, we sold it to retailers and sold it out.
Right.
Immediately. We actually limited how many everyone could buy because everyone wanted many, many pieces because they knew how well it would sell. And it did. It sold out quickly. So did people want the tuning fork? Yes, they did. But we couldn't make it commercially viable. The amount of work that went into it it was something that our engineers even said, we just don't want to make it. It's that difficult that it's not feasible. It's not something we could do, and people, wouldn't jump off the roof of the building. It was a lot. And I have to be honest with you, right now, they're feeling some of that again. We're making ancient technology. We're rebuilding pyramids with a tuning fork right now.
So let's get into it, because and to not to cut
Mike's
you off,
been waiting patiently.
Well, no, because the conversation has been had, probably prematurely, before Accutron themselves have announced the 314. We're seeing a lot of the coming soon, the little teasers and things. But this conversation has been had for the last couple of months now. We know the 314 exists. We know it's coming out.
I've seen it. I was there.
We've seen the photos of it and all that kind of thing.
Awesome.
So where is the future with the tuning fork? Where does it go now moving forward? Because the electrostatic was, groundbreaking technology in 2020. And as fast as things move within the industry, I almost hate to say it, but it's kind of old news now. And the newest,
Ouch.
latest thing is going to be, and I know, and I hate to say it because it is very cool, but the newest thing to happen now is going to be that 314. And it's
The
not
old,
going to
the newest thing is
overshadow
what's old is new again.
what's old is new again, but it's not going to overshadow the electrostatic because there is nothing like it. That is the only movement that exists today on Earth like that. We're talking two very different things,
Correct.
but
Mhm.
we are talking moving into the future, and that's where the 314 is. So
Right.
let's have that discussion.
So uh we so the 314 is, again, Joe was able to come out to Vegas when we did the big launch party. We had a great time. It was awesome.
It was a good night.
It was spur of the moment.
It was very.
We were gonna keep it very much under wraps, but um Houdinki kind of launched an article that morning, and it came out, and it was kind of it was everywhere very
It
quickly.
blew up. So the
Yeah.
thing that happened, because Mike's on the East Coast, I woke up and it was like that was like a Friday, Thursday or Friday, whatever it was.
Thursday. Yeah,
I woke up and Mike said, "Oh my God," and then he sent me the article. And I am dropping my son off at school, and I'm messaging you, I'm messaging Patty, I'm messaging Michael. I'm like, I can get to Vegas. So
yeah.
and the stars all aligned. It worked out really well. And I told my wife, like, you got to go pick our son up at school. I have to go to Las Vegas. She's like, what are you talking about? It's like, there's a watch. I got to go. And it was, man,
Awesome.
that was.
And
a
listen,
great night.
that was great that you were able to come and that it all worked out. I mean, we were, we had, a limited group for dinner. You were able to come for that.
Phenomenal night.
Really nice to just be able to add the chair and get you in there and have some fun that night, because it was, I mean, that was a once in a lifetime kind of event.
Yes.
So,
And that's without the wine.
right. Yeah. We had a lot of really big names there, from famous people to famous watch people to,
Yeah.
really big time jewelers, from all over the world. Because
Oh, the room was so good. The
It
room
was a
was so
good
good,
room.
and everyone
was
there
great people.
was. Oh man, that was a great night. That was a really great night.
Yeah, Accutron has a really wonderful group of retailers. They're just very interesting, very fun, very kind, and they're down to
Kind
earth.
is a good word. That's a really
Yeah.
good word.
Yeah. You can walk into some doors and there's this aloofness and so on and so forth. But the Accutron doors, as rare as they are, it's fun. It's this that I just really am very we have to be very careful about the amount of doors we have because we produce so few. It's less than 400 a year, this timepiece, less than 1,000 of the tuning forks. And we have to be really careful because we want everybody to be able to make money, sell the watch. But Accutrons, I mean, they're sold before they're made. That's the beauty of the
So
timepiece.
let's have a brief conversation about that, because we've talked about this before, and talking about the electrostatic movements. What's the run on an individual watch? 250, 300 pieces?
On a style,
Yeah, on one style.
we really don't work that way. So um, we only build about 400 movements a year globally, total movements. So my planning team and I all work together to create orders. It takes, so to give you some perspective, if you want to make a bull of a watch, you can order it about 6 months out
Right.
and you'll get it. Ours can be 10 to 18 months, like depending. So it's tough. It's we have to be really careful about what we're ordering and what's coming in. We have a lot of limited editions because of that.
Okay, so let's put in perspective. So the Complecto had 3 different dial iterations, 3 different
Right.
case, and there were 718 versions
Right.
of each, right?
Yeah.
Compare that to Accutron. Less,
That's more than twice our global production.
right? Global
Global.
production.
Yeah.
So the deal is basically, if you see an Accutron that you like
You should buy it.
Go
right
buy
now,
it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you'll go online and people will be like, oh, we have it available. And this is something I'm working with the retailers ourselves. Everyone is, if it's out, just say it's out, right? Like we want to make sure that when you go to purchase, it'll say out of stock. And our website will do that, but, some, other places won't. So you really, when you see it, get it.
Yeah.
And what we found is this is not a watch like many high-end timepieces. You're not buying it online. You're really buying it in person because you got to see it and wear it and feel it and kind of be part of it. Yeah, if you find one, you should 100% get it.
And one of the biggest things that people say, the consumer, is these are starting at $5,995. Stainless steel, 314 tuning
314s,
fork,
right.
right? 5,000.
904L stainless steel.
The 904. It's not a cheap watch. It's not a cheap watch. It's
No,
not
it's not.
inexpensive. It's not something you can just pop out and go pick up, right? This is a watch that most people are going to save for X amount of time, however long that may be, for you to be able to afford something like this.
Right.
A lot of people will say, well, give it a year, give it 2 years, the price will come down. The price isn't coming down because
not on
these
those.
won't last that long.
Yeah. Yeah. The
It's
price
This is not
limited
this is
edition.
not
gonna go
a
up.
this is not a watch you buy based on the price decreasing over
Well,
X amount of
okay,
time.
so let's talk. We can talk a little bit about Bulova marketing strategy. Some of their limited editions are 5,000 pieces,
Right.
which means like we're looking at under four. It's a magnitude of 10.
Right.
The
So
difference between-
electrostatic, you're under 400. With tuning fork, you're under 1,000. These are different, right? So when you go to our factories, you have the different lines that create watches, right? And you'll have Miyota, which does, as we know, many, many, many watches a day. Citizen is got an upgraded line that they use for some of their higher end pieces, right? That makes fewer, but still many, many pieces. Accutron, you have a handful of people that do nothing but build electrostatic
How
and
many?
do nothing but build tuning fork. They
that's
only work on
yes.
those two things.
That's the thing. These are now your components are manufactured, but the assembly on these is done by hand. And if you don't believe that statement, go watch the America Telling Time, the documentary that came out earlier this year, because it shows in that documentary the people assembling these movements by hand. This is not stuff that's just being made up to make you believe, oh, it's that much more special or it's a limited edition or whatever. This is legitimately how these things are done. These are hand assembled movements, and that takes time.
Yep. And again, I mean, like every watch is going to be manufactured at some level, right? CNC machines are cutting out plates and parts and bridges and the like. As much as we would love to believe that there's a man on a mill grinding out every first and second wheel and cutting it, it's just not happening, right? So they're being finished and hand assembled, and ours are being in some degree finished and 100% hand assembled for every single timepiece, which is really, really special that we're able to do that. And because we have I think it's like 9 people working on the electrostatic timepiece. The crazy part is that in every factory, you have people who qualify. So you start on this line, and as you get better and better, you move up into the finer and finer pieces. Electrostatic, not a lot of people pass. We have mostly all women working on that line. They have better eye-hand coordination. Men, the engineers say men have less patience. You also have to be able to maintain your body temperature and humidity levels. Because if it gets too high, you have to leave the room. The room has to maintain a certain temperature.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So that watch is very, very unique. Again, 18 patents, right? Things that are happening that happen nowhere else. There's no lights in the room. It's a big glass room that they work in with the lights are above it.
You could probably patent the manufacturing process alone.
Right. So even equipment had to be invented, and there's patented equipment for both watches. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, so you're hand assembling these things. You can't crank out, thousands a day. It's just
Yeah.
not possible,
It's
right?
not going to happen.
No, this is something we're proud of. And I think that, again, the Miyota and Citizen movements that come out are very, very good. And at different levels, those watches are also, there is some assembly by hand there, but ours is 100% hand
Yeah.
assembly.
Yeah.
Every component is reviewed. Like they could spend 4 hours a day just looking at the polishing and the finishing of the anglage on one component of the tuning fork. And your fail rates are pretty high there, and we have
Yeah.
to go back and refinish them to get them
Yeah.
to the right level. That's real watchmaking. That's what people expect on high-end hand-touched watches. And that's what's happening on the tuning fork and the electrostatic. So
So can we make the comparison if we talk about the cigar world? I've been to the factory, I've done the tour, and there's the person who's wrapping, and then
Yeah.
there's the person who's checking.
yeah.
And the person who's checking take a look, it's like, nope, that's good, and they can send it back.
hmm
Can they send it back, or is it
Oh yeah. Oh, that happens a lot.
there?
So fail rates are a big part of what we do. So, how much of this product can we still use? Like that's something we track constantly, and hone and try to get better at. Obviously, that's a number that's very, very important is what passes the inspection. It's all quality control, right? It's all QC stuff. There's
Yeah.
a lot of that going on. It's every single component of the watch. And, like with these two watches, they're very visible. So every screw is scrutinized, pun intended, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's, and it's fun to be part of that. Like you and I, we were kind of chatting before we got on here and talking about, being able to kind of pursue your passions and do what you love. And not everybody gets to do that. I get to do that every day. I work with incredible people, the best in the business. You guys know Michael. Working with Michael Benavente is it's a gift. It's something that's pretty, I learn something new every time we talk. And I've been doing what I'm doing at a high level for 30 years. And I'm just constantly learning from literally everyone I talk to in this company. You go to New York and, whether I'm having meetings from a manufacturing perspective, a planning perspective, operations, design, marketing, it blows my mind how much quality and talent that is there. And, one of the things being in this in all industries for, I've been doing what I've been doing for 30 years in different areas. And the one thing you recognize is that some companies have a golden hour, right? Where there's this chunk of time
Yeah.
Right.
where everything goes right, where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have the best people.
You guys are
You're-
there
they're
right now.
We're there. We're right in the
Yeah.
middle of
Yeah.
that.
I have said that time and time again. This is the best era of Bulova right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Citizen, Accutron, Frederic Constant, we own so
There's
many brands.
there's such good
Arnold
stuff
and
coming out throughout
Son,
the whole
there's
group.
everything's kind of under these umbrellas. And it's an amazing thing. And what the company has been able to do and the companies they've been able to acquire that all row in the same direction. It's, when I speak to the engineers, there's a lot of respect and I'm not them, right? They don't have to listen to me, you know? And it's amazing how much actual input they take. I mean, when they first brought me the first tuning fork, I kind of talked to him and said, well, I would like, we'd probably like to see this on here and a finish like this on here. Like, we really want to do that at this level. And then what do you think about this? And they went back to the drawing board and the tuning fork has every finish minus two that is known in the world of watchmaking in one watch. Like all these amazing finishes that were done to it. And I was like, wow, I just kind of asked for two things, but they just went crazy. But
What you really meant was this, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I just love that. And again, like even the design team, like, I guess my job is more to be able to kind of inspire and deliver, information from the outside world. This is what I'm hearing and seeing. And I deliver that information to the design team, and they come back with this interpretation in steel that just, you're like, we had a conversation and you created this product line off of it. We talked for 10 minutes. Like, these people are just talented, like, it's really, really fantastic. And it's, again, it makes my job, it makes me look good. It makes my job easier. But it really takes a village, and this company has acquired just tremendous talent.
Oh,
And that's,
agreed
I think
100%.
Jeffrey Cohen and Michael Benavente are a collector of talent. That's what they do best. And they can identify that and scoop it up. So,
Yeah. A couple of things. The tuning fork, the numbers that I've heard is this movement has the capability of going down to a 37 millimeter case. And I believe it's actually, you can go a little bit smaller than
yeah,
that,
we can actually.
which opens the door of possibilities for the Accutron Legacy line, putting this movement into those watches. Now,
Right.
the Legacy collection, as it came out in 2020, was all purely mechanical.
Mhm.
Now, again, as alluding to the conversation we had prior, you are trying to get away from the mechanical watches, the mechanical legacy watches. You want to do away with that because Accutron was never really intended to be mechanical. And now you have the viable, mass-produced tuning fork to put into some of this stuff. It's going to be expensive. We know that. You're looking at probably the same price point, give or take, of what these space views are right now.
Mhm.
What do we do from here to make the legacy collection more affordable? Is there a pathway for that? What is the future for that particular line of Accutron?
So I will leave details to another call. As we get
There,
close.
he's coming
But-
back. You heard it here first.
But what I would like to say is I would like to kind of just restate what you said, because what you said is accurate, but I would say it a little bit different. Accutron was accuracy through electronics. We know that history. That's the core of the being of the brand. Now, when it evolved, as all companies have to evolve their product, and quartz happened, we became quartz, right? We had AccuQuartz, we had all that going. 1977, we stopped making tuning forks, went to all quartz and then mechanical. Mechanical starts coming back in the late 80s, early 90s. So now we're Swiss mechanical again. And we evolve. But what we've always stayed is like the highest expression of quality, materials, and accuracy throughout that entire timeline. So
That's
when
fair.
we came out with the electrostatic, it's a really unique piece. It also wasn't inexpensive. So we wanted to pay homage to all of our collectors and come out with legacy pieces that were watches that were like new old stock, like looking. They
Yeah.
were made exactly to the specifications of the
Yeah.
originals.
Yeah.
Well, and everything that you guys did for that specifically hit the mark on the button. The size was right. The dial was right. Like the TV dials, the Canadian railroad. All of the pieces that came through were just like perfect. They were perfect in what they were supposed to be.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We actually brought together. We didn't make that call. I wasn't working for the company full time. I was still consulting with them at the time, but we brought together a group of collectors from all over the world to come to New York and choose the top sellers, like the most collectible pieces. And they happen to be really unique looking, shaped, built pieces.
Yeah.
And we wanted people to do now. Listen, it worked, right? Because we sold out of all that product. It did well and it's gone, right? So people enjoyed it. But there was that question people asked about, what about electron? Is there a tuning fork version we can do with this? Well, now that we know what it takes to build a tuning fork again, to rebuild a pyramid, so to speak, it's a lot, right? So we, with these high finishes and everything else, we're still kind of out of the reach of the average collector, right? With the price point. So we are exploring, as I said, we have more in-house movements that only work for Accutron that we want to develop and turn into something that is more consumable from that perspective. And that's on the horizon. We will be doing closed dial tuning forks eventually.
That's gonna be so good.
And those will be of different sizes. Again, when you have a closed dial, you don't have that front facing piece. We're going to still have a lot of high end finishes on the backside where you'll still have a clear crystal. But we're able to do more there from a price perspective as well. So we can help people enter into it a little bit. But this is all stuff that we're talking about. It's not, there's nothing really solid in development yet. We're firmly pushing to the launch. What's going to happen and carry through next year, we have pretty much on the drawing board and done, but 27 is still a little floating. And what we want to do and what we want to release. But as we get closer, we'll let you all know more. But like you showed the amazing picture of the tuning fork that's coming, like that is a gorgeous watch.
Beautiful. It is
it's
beautiful.
crazy. It's not your dad's tuning fork, but it looks, feels, and sounds exactly the same.
Let's be honest. Yes, an F sharp. This watch is stunning, and it always will be. The new one is just as good.
Yeah.
But now let's go back. Beginning of the episode, we had a discussion about Mike's watch, 262. There is potential for there to be an Accutron version of the Precisionist. We've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah. So when that watch released, the Precisionist released all at the same time.
Right.
So those were this, you know what a great analogy is? It is two sides to the same coin.
Right.
So what we did is we had this technology. One did something different than the other. And those technologies have been constantly being improved upon. What we've been working on for Accutron is, is different than what Bulova's been working on, and that those will eventually come to fruition. Like the tuning fork took us time, like electrostatic took us time. I mean, these are 10, 12 years in production and R&D. So we're developing more and more so that we can do more and more. We really do want a part of the brand to be able to extend itself to a larger buying population. It's really nice to have a brand that does what it's currently doing, but we've got such a big response to it, and we have so many people that want to access it, that it just makes sense for us to find a way to do that. But we have to do it in a way that honors the brand. That's, I guess, also, partly Michael and my job, right, is to protect the brand and do it in a way that matters, that's significant, and that makes sense.
It's something that Mike and I have said. We've said forever that as soon as the Precisionist movement came out, as soon as it launched, it's like that should be an Accutron movement. 100%.
Everybody said that, right?
But it makes total sense. And
but it makes sense
for what that movement is, for how accurate that movement is, the sweep seconds, and with just not even getting into the aesthetics, but just from the mechanical standpoint of it, it's like that's yes. And not that it's wasted on Bulova, but it would be significantly more celebrated in Accutron.
Yeah, and I think that technology, like you said, speaks the language of Accutron, but we have to remember Bulova's Accutron's dad, right? So, he can't help but to speak that language, right? Like that's what Bulova is. And, my heart, I mean, everything, even on my wrist, is New York City with Accutron symbol. That is, my heart is with Bulova and Joseph and Artie and what they represented as business people. And, moguls and, just ad men and, designers and artisans. And, so to be honest, we have to be very careful and respectful to Bulova as Accutron continues to march forward. And we have to do it in a way that we're inextricably linked. It'll always be the case. And I think that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I'm super proud of. I'm forever proud of.
Accutron is going, how do I say this? Bulova had its year. This was the year of Bulova, 150 years, celebrating the anniversary. Some really cool stuff that came out.
Amazing.
Accutron moving forward from here, 26 and beyond, you guys are
Hold on
about
to your
to
hats.
take the spotlight. I
Oh,
truly
yeah.
believe that. And
It's
not
gonna
to take
get
anything away
crazy.
from Bulova and what they're going to
Yeah.
do in the coming years too. But I think Accutron is really going to be the space to pay attention to for, again, what's old is new, but you're innovating the old
Mhm.
in ways that are just you're upgrading materials, you're upgrading manufacturing processes, you're upgrading serviceability, you're doing all of this stuff to make the tuning fork great again. And what you're going to be able to do with that, that's the key. What you guys will be able to do with that movement is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot that we're able to do. There's a lot we're designing, and we're trying to keep it in this idea of manufacture and it's ours and what have we created purposefully. And then how do we get that on the wrists of everyone who wants one? And that's hard to do. I mean, like 904L steel is our base metal now. Like that is going to be the worst material we use. That's
Right.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good
base.
Yeah, that's our base. That's pretty good base material. Not a lot of companies are able to say we don't use 316. So as we design forward and we replace some of the old models of the electrostatic, they're going to get upgraded to 904L. Even the stuff that we're moving towards in in a few years from now, all of that stuff, even at lower price points, still 904L. Like, so we're going to be able to put this super high-end piece on someone's wrist that they can be incredibly proud of and do it for a price that they can quickly and easily afford. Like you were saying, when you're in the 6,000 range, 4 to 6,000, there's permission and time that's needed to get that watch. When you're under that number, not so much, right?
Yeah.
Now they're not going to like the Legacy, they're not going to be inexpensive watches, but they're not going to be the 4 to 6,000, 7,000 range that some of the other pieces we have are. And it's segmented. It's going to remain special.
But you're still going to get the quality and the technology in a watch that is going to hit well above that price point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
For sure.
when these are done, it's going to be crazy. I mean,
Oh yeah.
It's hard to believe what we're going to be offering. It's just pretty, and to be honest, when we were just recently all in New York doing this summer, early summer, kind of having that once a year conversation about the brand and its language, and everybody was in agreement that it is unique materials, it is unique engineering, and it's unique wearers, right? Like everything about the brand, like you meet people and they're an Accutron person. Like you show them your watch and they're gonna love it, right?
Right.
And then you meet other people and they're not gonna, it's not gonna really scratch that itch for them. And we just love the people who buy us. We love the people that support us from a retail perspective. But we're aware of that and cognizant of that, and we design into that, we market into that. It's really all driven by all of you, which is also incredibly unique. And I think not only is it people that, Jeffrey, Michael, and the like all have the vision to find and kind of clear the path for, but they also know, Michael tells me all the time, is to, when you're out there and you're at an event, just listen, ask a lot of questions. What do you want the bad as much as you want the good? and then let's react to that. Bring that back here so that we can design forward from there. We can make decisions based on what the world is saying. And not everybody listens to that noise, right? And I think it's because there's a talent for hearing the signal and not the noise. Not
Yeah.
everyone has it, but Jeffrey, Michael definitely have it. So you can add as much noise as you want. They're going to be able to pull out the signal from it. And that's what we really try to do. And that's a skill I'm trying to develop more and more.
Yeah, for sure. Can I close the show out with this? Or do you have anything last comments you want to make first?
No, just thank you guys. I mean, being on the 101st episode is kind of a huge deal. Having a platform for people who are as passionate as the four of us are about, or the three of us, I include Michael in almost everything.
He's here in spirit.
There's always this ghost of Michael.
Right. Somewhere.
But I think having a forum to speak to them and then answer their questions and, do that type of thing is also unique. And it's also, as I just stated, very important for the brand. So it helps us be better. So, what I'd like to say is thank you to the two of you for doing everything you do and giving us this opportunity.
We are extremely happy to be that platform that brings this information to our listeners and our viewers. We are, and I'm going to toot our own horn here for a minute. We are the only podcast that has so many Bulova Insider episodes that really opens the lens into what the company does. Accutron, Bulova, Caravel, design and marketing. I mean, you name it, we've covered it. So if you're one of our regular listeners and our viewers, or if you're watching this through the Accutron space, in the words of Michael Benevente, if you've listened to episode 100, like and subscribe, because aside from some of the but you know what, aside from some of the large, major publications, you guys come on and you leave these, breadcrumb trails of what's going to happen in the future. Michael breaks the embargoes all the time,
Yes.
You're going to find a lot of the information of what's coming into the future here before you're going to find it anywhere else.
It's true.
So
that's true.
And that's why I say I love being this platform and this outlet for you guys, because as Joe and I, as involved and passionate as we are as collectors of all three of the brands, to be able to be the voice, of Bulova and Accutron and Caravel, it's a fantastic honor for us, and we want to share this with as many people as possible. So.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Springbar podcast.
Definitely like and subscribe. I like that from Mike.
Like and
That's
subscribe.
very Michael.
Yeah.
I could see him like point right down here somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
no, listen, it's a great opportunity for both of us, I guess, and it's something that we honor. We're very aware of how special of a relationship it is, and that's why Michael and I try to be here as much as we can. It's awesome, and you guys are just stand-up guys, so we enjoy the time and the company. I've been able to go out with each one of you now separately, so I can say on a personal level as well, pretty awesome, pretty fun. So very excited to be friends with you and also work together to kind of spread the gospel.
We appreciate it.
We appreciate
it 100%.
At the beginning of the show, you said a lot of the stuff you want to be able to make online. Is it currently online for people to go and find, or not quite yet?
So like the PowerPoint we looked at today, that was there. We took it down, and I think we will probably put it back up in the next month or so. And then we are going to be building out more content that this will very well be part of. So we'll be able to put that online as well, YouTube, on all of our different sources. So in the future, it is already an incredibly busy time for Accutron because of the launch. We are getting a lot set up for the product. Managing the product getting here. My sales team nationally, internationally, to get the product to the retailers and then them marketing it to there's a lot going on right now between all of those steps. But January 1st, we get to switch gears and settle down. Product will be in, it'll be out, and we'll be able to really, start launching new things. So you'll see more and more of that. But this PowerPoint, because we just did this, I probably will have that up on Accutron.com. Hopefully by the end of October, I could do it probably.
Perfect.
Okay. So, but Accutron.com will be the main resource people
Accutron
can go
Watch,
to,
I
and
think it is Accutron
Yeah,
Watch.
Accutron Watch.
AccutronWatch.com. Yeah.
And
But
then
that's
there'll be a
where people can go to find,
A YouTube channel will be associated with it, and everything that goes along those lines.
Yeah, and then so like right now, if you go on the AccutronWatch.com, you go to manufacturer, and it actually has like Jack's Corner and
Yeah.
all these people
Okay.
talking about the product. We have if you want the simplest way to do it, we have a beautiful explainer video done by Worn and Wound, with a guy walking around just talking about his cool watch. Kind of gives you starters to talk about with the
There
conversation.
you go. So now is the time to go and do your research. Whether or not you're a seasoned collector or you're somebody that's interested in the brand and what they're going to be doing and what they're doing now, go AccutronWatch.com and check out these resources. And then keep an eye on it because more stuff is going to be coming down the pipe. So
All available. Coming
Yeah.
soon.
to a website near you. On that note, Joe,
How do we get in touch, Mike?
well, today, you, myself, Richard, we all make up the Springbar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Springbar Podcast. You can email us, thespringbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal note, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
Watch Taylor Youth, EUPH, one long word, Richard.
And I am at Accutron 150, Accutron 150.
So what happens next year? You got to change your name?
Ooh.
Yeah. Well,
Accutron
it's
151?
so what's funny is that it's our 65th anniversary for Accutron. So everybody says I
yeah.
should be actually Accutron 65, but I've already started a 314 handle.
Done. There it is.
Okay. I was going to say, Michael it said he's going to start 121 clicks. You could have been 122 clicks.
I may go and get that right now.
There we go.
There you go. Well, Richard, it has been a blast as always. We love
Thanks,
sitting
guys.
down with you and talking with you. You are a wealth of knowledge. I would just absolutely love to have you on, not for anything corporate related. I just want to hear you tell some stories.
We can do
Yeah.
that. I like that.
There.
Story
What
time
we
with
need
Richard.
to do is get us all together and do it outside smoking cigars.
That.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen someday.
Yeah. But
All right.
well, it's been a slice.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Keep Accutron on your radar. Until then,
And on your
Cheers.
wrists.
And,
And
yeah.
there you go.
Cheers.